So yeah, and also evidence, so if Rochelle says something she's not supposed to, I can prove it. Anyhow, not that she would, right? None of us would. But anyhow, so this says, as a way of introduction, my name is Mark Rawls, and I'm with the Health and Safety Group for a while now. Some of you have probably seen me around. I've been in meetings with a few of you, but if you ever have any issues, safety related, health related, disaster preparedness related, part of the topic today, just hit me up. Find me. I'll help you. I don't always know the answers, but I know where to find them. We'll get it taken care of. So, but anyhow, this is our first safety meeting in quite some time. How long has it been since we had a safety meeting with this group?
Since Shelley was in safety.
So how long ago was that, Shelley?
Years.
Years. Well, we're going to do it the same time every month. 8 o'clock is our start time, and we'll get started right on time. But this is for this point forward, right? So we're going to be covering topics. If you have topics you'd like to hear or see, I got to remember to stand over here. I'm not going to be on camera. If you have any topics you want to hear, you want to see, you want to talk about, let me know. Send me an email, call me, text me, right? And we'll see if we can get that rolled into the rotation. But today we're going to talk about office safety just a little bit. We're going to talk about emergency situations. Also, disaster preparedness goes in along with that. And we're going to talk about that bottom line, drive to excellence. And we're actually going to start with the bottom line first. And what is drive to excellence? So drive to excellence is the what Wellico is going to be doing from this point forward. That's kind of like our motto for them, right? That's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be driving towards excellence. Excellence in everything we do, right? Is perfection possible? It's not, right? But excellence is definitely achievable, right? So we want to do everything with excellence. So we're going to look at what we do and we're going to say, is this done with excellence? If the answer is no, we need to keep working on it until it's done with excellence. All right, what is that? I mean, we're going to go talk about a lot more about that as we move forward in the months to come and days and weeks to come, what excellence is and how it's defined and what it really looks like. But so this is just an introduction, and for those of you who don't know, we have a Center of Excellence team. It's a group from all the different departments that gets together to discuss this topic. Right? We have a new app that's coming out, and we're starting to implement. Eventually, hopefully, it makes us more efficient and helps us get to that driving to excellence piece. But it says every job is the self-portrait of the person who did it. Autograph your work with excellence. So if you turn in shabby work, it looks like you do shabby work, right? Does that make sense? But that goes to everything else too, because it's not just us personally, but you're the representative of Wellico. When I'm out in the field and I'm talking to people, or I'm with a client, I'm talking to somebody, I am Wellico to them. That's who I am, right? They don't know anybody else right now. I'm the one they're talking to, so everything I say, everything that I do, the way I present myself is Wellico to them, right? I want Wellico to be busier, right? There's a lot more market share out there we can get. We can get more work than we currently have locally. I want to get all that we can. But we can't do it unless we start driving towards excellence, right? Also, when you drive towards excellence, you don't have to be the cheapest in town because you're the best in town, right? The best can get paid a little better, right? So we can make a little more as a company. As we make more as a company, we can take care of our employees better, right? So that's part of driving to excellence. What is excellence is never an accident. It is a result of high intention, sincere effort, intelligent direction, and the vision to see obstacles as opportunities. Do we have obstacles? We have things in our way to be the best we can possibly be. Of course. Right? So we're going to look at all those obstacles. We're going to find a way to get around them, and we're making an opportunity to get better. That's what the drive to excellence is. So you're going to hear a lot about that as we move forward, hopefully from your own teams, but also from me and from management and everybody else. So we're going to talk about excellence. So I'm going to show you a little video, right? It's hard to see what's going on right here, but because it's a video, I'm going to start playing in a minute. And a root cause is basically what caused this to happen. So I'm going to show you the video, and then we're going to have a discussion about what caused this to happen. What was the problem here? And don't be afraid about being wrong, right? Because it's just opinions, right? And your opinion isn't wrong, it's just your opinion, right? And we'll talk about some of the things that I see when we see accidents. time?
Yeah.
All right, so what went wrong?
Wasn't paying attention.
He wasn't paying attention, okay? His focus was somewhere else, right? Wasn't paying attention, right? What else was going on? What else went on?
There's people standing around the sign, so you couldn't see that.
He couldn't see the sign very well. It was kind of obstructed because of all the people around. What else? Is that, you think that sign's in the perfect place for it to be? To stop people from falling? Because it's probably in a wet spot, right? Right? So what should you do if you got a wet spot?
Put the sign up.
Clean it up, right? Put the sign up. Be there cleaning it up so people see your activity, right? And then once it's cleaned up, then you take the sign and make it go away. We had an incident in a place I used to work. Somebody tripped over the sign that said, "Be careful," right? Similar to this. They tripped over it. They fell and they ended up breaking the shoulder, right? Had to have a shoulder replacement surgery, all kinds of stuff. Tripped over a sign, right? And we asked him, "Well, didn't you see the sign?" He said, "No, that sign's always there, and I just missed it this time. I forgot it was there," right? So is it okay to put a sign up that says, "Watch your step," and it's always there? No, because we don't see it after a while. We stop seeing it. So, and something else had happened. What happened after he fell, right? He was falling, he's laying on his back. What happened next?
They harassed him by touching his blood.
Well, they had to, okay. Well, basically what they did is they got into, "Oh, you're okay, get up," right? Basically that's what happened. "You're okay, get up." And he just got up and went on, right? That's probably not the best thing to do after a fall, right? We want to get checked out, we want to make sure you're okay. He probably is okay, right? He probably is, but we don't want to assume he is, right? So if you get hurt, we don't want to assume you're okay. We want to make sure you're okay. We want to verify, right? We want to verify you're okay. We don't want to just go on because, well, you tripped and fell. Trips and falls may not hurt right now, right? But they may hurt a lot later. Anybody ever been in a car accident or had a bad fall or anything before? I've been to several, but I'm an old guy, right? The second or third day is sometimes, that's when the pain really hits sometimes, right? So you never know. I had a gentleman get into a car accident on the way to work. It was in his private vehicle, but he came in and he says his neck was a little sore. It was a foggy day and a semi ran into the back of him, right? As the day went on, his neck hurt worse and worse. And finally I said, "Well, come on, let me take you to the doctor." I took him to the company doctor. We didn't have to do that, but I did. And they did an x-ray of his neck and he had 3 cracked vertebrae in his neck. If one of them had moved even a little bit, he'd been paralyzed from the neck down, right? So you can't assume just because you walked away from it that you're okay. Get checked out. And that's what we would do in this case, right? We would get checked out. We'll make sure everything's okay. So we're going to talk about, we're switching for topics pretty quickly, so types of emergencies. What are some emergencies we might have? Earthquakes. Anybody feel the earthquakes? How about the one a couple of days ago, that 5.0, that aftershock? I felt it. I was actually sitting up here, and I felt it kind of shake. I thought, "Oh, that's an aftershock," right? At least I'm hoping it was an aftershock and not a big one somewhere else, right? But anyhow, so you can feel them, right? More sensitive to it after one. So how many after the earthquake went up about prepared his kits and did stuff to get ready? A couple of you? Good, good. We're going to talk a lot about that here in just a minute, but anyhow. So tornadoes, is tornadoes a threat here?
No.
Oh no, actually there was a tornado, 2 tornadoes touched down this year in Kern County, both out towards Arvin, both involving thunderstorms. They're very small compared to what you see coming through Oklahoma or Missouri or something like that, but they were still 95-mile-an-hour winds, and they still tore up some roofs, right? If you tear up a roof, what happens to the people on the ground nearby, right? You can get hurt, right? So, but it is an issue. It's a very small issue compared to the big ones, you know, the F5s and all that kind of stuff. How about power outages? Do you ever have power outages? Occasionally, right? It's rare for us, but we still have them. Fire hazards. We have fire hazards. Hazardous materials releases. Do we have hazardous material releases? Potentially we could have. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. How about terrorism or active shooters? Right? What's the chance of that happening here? Almost 0, right? But guess what? That's what everybody thought. Every place has ever been one, right? There's not going to be any active shooter here. So we're going to talk a little bit about that so we're prepared. And also think of when we talk about these topics, don't just apply them to work. Apply them to home, apply them to the restaurant you go to, apply them to the movie theater, apply them to school, right? Where your kids go or whatever, just every place you go, just apply to those areas as well, because it applies to all these places. You gotta be thinking all the time. And then health or injury issues, we'll talk about that a little bit. So workplace emergencies. What are we gonna do if we have an emergency here in this building? We're gonna call 911 if it's required, right? And then we're potentially gonna leave, right? And we're gonna be somewhere else, right? If it's safe to do so. Is it always the right thing to leave? It's not always the right thing to leave. Sometimes it's the right thing to do is to stay put. So until you know, don't do anything until you figure it out, right? Find a solution. And then be prepared. We're going to show a little video here in just a second, if I can make it work. Does that work? Please work.
Hi, I'm Michelle, and these are my kids, Rhett, Luke, and Charlie. And today we're going to go over 10 simple steps that you can do with your family to get more prepared for an emergency. This is a great thing to do with your family one evening. You can sit down for about an hour or two, and you'll come out on the other side even more prepared. During a home emergency, it's important to have a place where your family can meet together so they can find each other, somewhere near your home. If you don't have a place set aside, this is what will happen. Kids, there's a fire! Run! Find this meeting place! Oh. And that's what happens if you don't have a set place. Now that we know what not to do, let's do it the right way. Kids, there's a fire! Run! Now as parents, we can go over, we can find our kids, and we know everyone's safe. It's a good idea to have a list of out-of-state contacts that you can check in with if your family should get separated during an emergency. We have ours on these little cards that are inside each of our emergency kits, but it's also a good idea to program those into each of your phones and know what the contact is so that everyone knows who to contact. On a side note, sometimes in an emergency it's easier to get a text through than it is to get a phone call through. Everyone should know how to turn off the main power to their home. Every house has a box similar to this. Familiarize yourself with the box, know how it opens. Inside of the box is a main switch, and that should turn off your power. And then that way you're ready if you should need it. Make sure you know where your water main is located so that you can shut off the valve if necessary. In case of an earthquake or another type of disaster where you need to turn off your gas, it's important to know where your gas valve is located. Find that and then make sure you have a tool to do so. We're not going to do it today, because if you do that, then you need to call the gas company to come turn it back on.
It's good to have a fire extinguisher in your house and know how to use it just in case someone lights a fire.
It's important to have a minimum of 3 days of water for each member of your family. There's a lot of ways that you can store water. You can get bottles of water and just store those up, or you can get these containers. There's a lot of different containers you can get, and you can put water in those and have that stored up. But one of the more important things that you need to know is it's good to have a filter so that if your water becomes contaminated or you need to find secondary water, you're able to clean it so that you can drink it. Every member of your family needs to know how to use the filter, even the kids. It's important to have a minimum of 2 weeks of food stored for each member of your family. It's important to remember that you need to store things that store well, that prepare easily, and that your family enjoys eating. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that. Freeze-dried food is really good because it stores for a long time. It's easy to prepare, and it comes in set meals. It's also good to prepare things that your family loves, kind of, some favorite snacks and things. And some other things you can do is you can store seeds so that you can grow your own food, and you can preserve your own food. If you do that, everything put together will help you rest easy knowing that you're more prepared. As part of your emergency supplies, it's important to have a first aid kit so that you can treat any minor cuts, wounds, scrapes, whatever you need. It's also important to have a hygiene kit that has just your basic soap and sanitizer, toothpaste, just the things that you need to keep you and your family clean. And then the other thing is really important to have your medication. Any medications that your family takes, it's important to have with you, and especially if they have special needs. This is Rhett, and in his kit we have his inhaler, we have his EpiPen, we have his allergy medication, we've got everything that he needs so that we're prepared for any eventuality, even if there is a stray peanut. During an emergency, it's important to be able to cook without using utilities. Most of us have a barbecue grill, and these are great to use, but the important thing to remember is that you need to have fuel for your grill, so either propane or charcoal. There are a lot of other options too. You can use a sun oven, you can use a Dutch oven, and there are a lot of really fun small portable camp stoves that you can use. So it's important to have something on hand, and the most important thing is to know how to use it and to have the fuel that it needs. If something should happen to your home, it's important that you're able to make shelter outside of your home. This can be done easily by putting all of your camping gear in one central area that you can get to quickly. And this would be things just like sleeping bags, tents, blankets, flashlights, and this is going to vary depending on where you live and the climate that you live in. If you live in a hotter climate, of course, you're going to want to be thinking about shade and making shade for your family and staying cool. And if you live in a cold climate, you're going to think more about blankets and how you can keep your family warm. Doing this will make you more prepared when the time comes. In an emergency situation, it's a good idea to have some cash on hand. This cash can just be put into an envelope and placed in your emergency kit. During an emergency, a lot of times ATMs and banks aren't open, and so it's a good idea to have what you need with you. And a lot of times people don't have change, so it's important to have smaller bills so that you can purchase what you need when you need it. Most people don't think about this, but it's important to have a safe place for all of your important documents. These are things such as birth certificate, marriage certificate, insurance policies, banking information. It's important to have those in a safe place, and so to scan those and put them all on a USB drive like this is a really good idea. You can keep the USB drive in your emergency kit, you can keep them in a safety deposit box, or you can keep them with a trusted family member. But then that way, if any of your documents are destroyed in an emergency, you've always got a backup to fall back on.
Technological challenge right at times. There we go. And the bottom line, don't forget about your animals. It never talked about the animals in there, but if you have pets and things like that that you need to care for, make sure you take care of that. So how many of you have done all of these things? Anybody? I have, but I'm a freak. I'm a safety guy, so I'm a freak. So I have 3 different out-of-state contacts, and everybody in my family knows who to call, because in a big emergency, a big earthquake, you're not going to be able to call internally as easy as you can call externally. You can call out of state easier than you can call locally because the lines are all jammed, right? But an outside line might work better, right? And if you can find them, there's still a few floating around Oildale and a few other places. Payphones almost always work, right? Because they're there for emergency services and they're a hardware, right? They're not based upon cell phone use. They're still around, but they're very difficult to find. But have an out-of-state contact. Being prepared is important because once the incident has happened, once the emergency's happened, once the flood has come because Isabella broke or whatever, then it's too late to start preparing. Prepare in advance, have plenty of water, plenty of food, all that kind of stuff, right? I have a kit, I have 2 boxes, they're little plastic boxes, I have 2 of them in my garage, and I have a real small one that's always in the trunk of the car, right? Because if there's a disaster, I might have to be in the car for a day or 2, right? I have enough water, Gatorade, protein bars, nothing big, right? I have a couple blankets, that kind of thing, so I'm prepared, right? So if you need the list of things and that you want to talk or anything, just let me know, and I can get you the list of whatever you need to talk about as well. So in an earthquake, what do you do during an earthquake? If we were to have an earthquake right now, what are we going to do?
Get under something.
Huh?
Get under something.
You can get under something. This counter is pretty strong, pretty sturdy, getting under it. If it's full, good, we got too many people, everybody got there before you did. An exterior wall is the wrong place to be, right? Because it might go. An interior wall is a good place to be, right? Just against the wall, down on your hands and knees, close to the wall, good place to be. Do we want to run outside? Well, first, we don't want to run downstairs if we're up here, right? Shaking gets harder, you're gonna falling downstairs, right? We don't want that. We don't want to run anyways, right? Like I used to tell people all the time, unless there's a fireball chasing you, gonna burn you up, don't run, right? Because you start running, I don't know how many incidents I've investigated because something loud noise happened, people ran, tripped over things and broke bones, right? Don't run, right? Stay put until it stops, and then we want to move on, right? Get away from things that might fall on you, right? So we don't want to be around things that might fall on us. Be aware, but when do we need to know about that? The things that may fall on us. Once the things start shaking, or should we look at our office space now, where we sleep now? How many of you have a big picture above your bed, right? Or something above your bed, like we do at our house, right? But I've got it so firmly attached to the wall, it would have to come down for that picture to come down. But think about where you sit all the time, what's next to you where you're sleeping, right? Think about those things. And if it were to fall in an earthquake, where's it going to go? And are you in danger, right? Because you're going to, especially if you're coming, just waking up, like when you're sitting at your desk. Wake up, people. Anyways, after the earthquake, right? Remain calm. Don't go outside still, right? Unless it's unsafe to be where you're at, just stay where you're at, right? Don't run outside. You know, don't get on Facebook and or Instagram, whatever it is you use, and go out there and start filming everybody running like crazy people. All right, maybe fun later, but you don't know, right? Be prepared for aftershocks; they're going to happen. Do not use your phones unless you absolutely need to. You don't want, because emergency services people need to use them as well, and those who have real emergencies. Now, if you have an emergency, you need 911, call them, right? But everybody doesn't need 911 after an earthquake. Okay, so just wait. And if you do leave the building, make sure you look around as you go outside and know what's happening out there. You don't want to assume anything. Shelter in place, right? Shelter in place means we don't leave, right? We're going to close windows, we're going to close doors, we might turn off the air conditioning unit, right? And why, and what's a threat right here where we're at? Or that we might have to shelter in place, a massive chemical release. Huh? Train tracks right back here, right? That's why that picture's there. What's on those trains going by us? Anything you can imagine.
Yeah.
Anything you can imagine. Acids, dyes, oils, flammable gases, gasoline, you name it. That's what's on those trains. Some of it's harmless, and some of it is extremely lethal, right? But that's every train track in the country. They use that. It's a very safe thing, but when something goes bad, it's usually pretty bad, right? So if we were to have a massive train wreck out there, right? Running outside is probably the wrong thing to do, right? Close the doors, turn off the air conditioner. Why are we turning off the air conditioner?
So you don't circulate toxic gas throughout.
We don't want to pull it in from the outside, right? It's when you turn on the air conditioner, it's not just circulating the air in here. At least 30% of that air is coming from the outside and being cooled, right? That's regulatory. You have to do that. Otherwise, you get bad atmosphere inside, right? So we turn off the air conditioner. Same thing at home, right? If you're at home and you get a shelter in place because there's a gas leak down the street, right? You want to close all the doors, close all the windows, and it might be hot, but you got to turn the air conditioner off, right? You can turn a fan on because it's just circulating in the interior, but turn the air conditioner off because you don't want to pull that stuff from the outside. But there could definitely be times when you want to shelter in place and just wait it out until you get it all clear, or professionals come to get you with the right equipment to take you out. Medical emergencies, we're going to call 911, right? If you know first aid CPR, we can take care of that. And that's anywhere. And how many of you have ever been trained or used an AED, automatic external defibrillator? Right? Don't be afraid of them, right? They're very, very easy to use. And most of them, once you open it up, there's instructions right there, right? So if you're someplace else, right, and there's a person having a heart attack, right, and they're giving first aid CPR, and there's an AED close by, get it. Somebody probably knows how to use it because lots of people are trained. But listen, the instructions are right there on it, and it's very, very simple to use. You literally open up the packet, peel the two things off, put it here and here on their body, right, and push stand back and it takes care of it for you. I mean, that's how easy it is to use. So follow the instructions in it, and they're very simple to use. But anyhow, how many of you have been trained in first aid CPR? All right, good. We need to get everybody trained. That's such a great thing to do, and it's so simple these days, and you know, it's pretty simple. Anyhow. Fires. How many of you have ever been trained how to use a fire extinguisher? Good, good. We're going to do some fire extinguisher training for you guys in the future. Trying to arrange for, how many of you want to do live fire? Actually put out a fire. Good? Yeah, because we're going to let you, right? We're going to let you put out a fire. As soon as I can find the right person to come do the training, we're going to go out here in the back and we'll just put out fires. So it'll be fine. What it says, never try to extinguish a fire beyond incipient stage. What's that mean?
When it's engulfed.
Huh?
When it's engulfed.
Yeah, basically the incipient stage fire barely started. It just started, you're there, you have a fire extinguisher and you try to put it out, right? What happens if you run and you put it out and you try with the first fire extinguisher, it's still burning? Leave. Don't get another one, don't try again because it's too big now. You're not a professional firefighter, don't mess with it, right? Unless you've had advanced firefighter training, it's done. What if you don't know how to use a fire extinguisher? What should you do?
Just get away.
Dial 911 and leave, right? On the way out the door, tell everybody on the way out, hey, there's a fire, let's get out of here, and leave, right? Let it burn, right? Insurance will cover all the rest of that, right? Don't worry about it. If you smell smoke, what should you do? Assume there's a fire. It's just, there may not be, maybe it's outside, right? Maybe there's a brush fire, 2 miles away, and we're just getting some smell from it, but we don't know for sure. So if you smell like there might be smoke, just look around. Let's see if there is. Right? Because who are we protecting? Ourselves. Right? Activate a fire alarm if there's one in the area available to you. So active shooter. Right? We're going to watch a video on active shooter here in just a minute if I can get it to play right. But we're going to talk about it briefly. Right? Everywhere you go, right? That's a public place, has the potential for an active shooter, right? There's been lots and lots and lots of them reported in the news, so many. You used to be able, you could remember the last one. I don't even remember what the last one was. There's so many, right? It happens all the time. Not the leading cause of death by any stretch, but it's important enough that we ought to be talking about it. So what should you do if you're in a place at work, if you're at a restaurant, you're in a theater, and you hear gunshots? What's the first thing you should do? Huh? Well, actually, that's the second thing you should do, right?
Try to move away from it if there's an accident.
Yeah, if possible, right? And like if we were here and we heard shots go on downstairs, we're not leaving, right? Because there's no place to go. We'd have to go towards the gunshots, right? But if I'm downstairs and I hear them outside, out front, I can go out of my office and into the shop, and then into the back, right? And if I have to, I can climb a fence, right? I can go away from, I can escape. So you need to always think about escape first, run first, right? That's the first thing you want to think of. Can I get out? If the answer is no, then we're going to hide. Hide means if we were in this room, we're closing that door, right? And we're going to put things in front of it and try to jam it up so it can't be opened easily. We're going to lock it. It's pretty difficult. It's a pretty stout door, right? So that it's harder for anybody to get in. Hopefully they just walk away because they can't get in the door, right? Same thing in your offices. You want to close the door, get under a desk, right? Hide, right? And just be quiet, right? That's what you want to try to do. The third thing, right? If it comes down to it and you've hidden, right? And they still find you, right? Is fight. Right? Hit them with something, find a sharp object, whatever. The video's going to show it as well, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit. I want you to make sure you understand what to do, right? And not just, right? And not just for active shooter situations. A lot of women in the room, right? Are you at risk ever? Walking through Walmart parking lot, right? Out. So what should you do in those cases when a person comes up to threaten you, right? If you can, run away. If you can't, hide, get in your car, lock the doors, and call for help, right? But if they get a hold of you, fight. Don't assume, well, they're just going to let me go. They're not going to let you go, right? That's not how it works. You can't assume they're going to be nice, right? No, you fight, right? What can you do to hurt somebody? Huh? Poke them in the eyes. Perfect. Right? What else can you do? Hit them in the throat, right? Hit them in the nose. Hit them in the face, anywhere in the face. Huh? In the groin. Yes, absolutely. Put a knee to them, right? What if they got you from behind, right? From behind, right? And they're holding, and they're just too strong for you. What can you do? Huh? Elbow. But if they got your arms, if you can't, right? But you can always go backwards with your head, right? But if they know what they're doing, they can move their head out so that can't happen, right? But how about your foot on the top of their foot?
Especially if you got heels.
Especially if you got heels on, right? But the metatarsal, that's the top of your foot, is extremely tender. Hit it sometimes. Just hit it pretty hard sometimes and see how it feels, right? You stomp on it as hard as you can, they might let go. And if they do, you're going to run, right? How many of you have ever been through self-defense classes? One man. No, none of you ladies have ever been through self-defense training. They have classes for free in Bakersfield every month. I'll send some information up to you, right? I made my wife and daughter go to classes, right? Not once, right? They've been 3 times, right? Why? Because they forget stuff, right? They forget. So, and I just talked to them yesterday. They're going again. I'm going to send them another one. Because I'm not with them all the time. And even if I am, it doesn't mean we're going to win, right? It's always better to be in pairs and numbers, but if you're alone, you need to, anyhow. So that's what you need to do, right? Even with an active shooter. He's got a gun, right? Well, fight. All those things we just talked about doing to somebody, do to them. A real good weapon I have here is your keys, right? Great weapon. Key in the hand, right? How many of you walk with your keys in your hand? A lot of you don't have keys anymore, right? We have these things, right? But even that in your hand is harder than your fist, right? But if you have keys, a house key or something, right? Have a key in your hand between your fingers, it's a really good weapon, right? Don't just stab somebody just to be doing it to see if it works, but think about it.
So yeah, just when you first get your friend is
This is from the Department of Homeland Security. Their website has a lot of really, really good information on it. Not just about active shooters, but other stuff. We'll talk about that today.
how to prepare your storage containers of water.
Active shooter events can occur anywhere at any time. They frequently involve individuals attempting to kill others indiscriminately. These events are unpredictable and can
So the
evolve
first subject
quickly.
matter is the importance
For
of
this reason, whenever you enter a building as an employee, guest, or customer,
food you can
you
give.
must be prepared and know what it is you will do if faced with the worst case scenario, even if it's just another day at the office.
Last night, every time I closed my eyes, all I could see were select X.
Don't remind me.
Sorry I'm late. Did I miss anything? Hey, you got a minute to catch me up on that thing?
Yeah, come on in. Is Amelia here too?
Let me go, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
When startled by a gunshot, it's a natural human reaction to freeze. Unfortunately, this response leaves you vulnerable to what might come next. If you see someone frozen in place in this type of situation, make your best attempt to assist them.
I think it's critical that we find a way to make sure this doesn't happen again. We've wasted way too much time.
That's gunfire.
Are you sure that was a gunshot?
That's gunfire.
Was that really a gunshot? Call police.
If you can't easily evacuate, the best option is to hide. Lock the door, stay close to the ground, and try to find cover from any stray gunfire that may penetrate the walls. If you're able, call 911.
What was that?
Sounded like a gunshot. What should we do?
Come on, let's get out of here.
When possible, the best alternative in an active shooter event is to run. If your path is clear and you can safely reach an exit, evacuate as soon as possible. Of course, some may not have such easy access to a safe exit. In these situations, you must decide for yourself whether it is best to evacuate or to hide. As with any of these options, if you do choose to run, commit to this action. And remember, police will be arriving to assist you and to evacuate the wounded, so be sure to keep your hands up and empty as you clear the building. Otherwise, put simply, don't stop running. Once clear of danger, make contact with 911 to assist their response by providing them information about the shooter, the weapons they're carrying, and the amount of wounded that may still need medical assistance. If you have been unable to evacuate and are trapped in the facility during an active shooter situation, remember, making the decision to hide does not prevent you from putting up a fight later. If you are confronted by the active shooter, you have to assume that your actions are all that stand between yourself, your colleagues, and grave harm. Fight for your life. Search around you for sharp or heavy objects that you may use to disable the attacker. Collaborate with those around you to ensure you aren't acting alone. You're taking action for your survival, so do not hold back, and do not stop fighting until you know beyond certainty that you are safe. Committing to run, to hide, or to fight will keep you safer than if you freeze during a crisis. Remember to prioritize your safety. If you come across those who are wounded and may need assistance, assist them if you can, but do not let them inhibit your escape. As an individual, the most important thing you can do to keep yourself safe, whether it is to run, hide, or to fight, is to commit to your decision and to continuously reevaluate the situation. If you own a business or operate a large public facility, you may be able to better enable individual response to such events by identifying emergency escape routes and exits. Use this information to design evacuation plans that can be used by employees and guests to your facility. Reach out to law enforcement to see if they'll come to your facility and assist you in drafting your response plan or guide you to training that may assist employees in their survival. Remember, this training may be the difference between life or death. See about technology you may be able to incorporate to make your facility safer, which may include audio or visual cues for those with access and functional needs. Plan for and train your employees to assist those who may not be able to run, hide, or fight. Equip them with a first aid or a go kit, an emergency ladder in case you're not on the first story, and explore the possibility of mass notification technologies, which may enable you to alert those in the area of any present dangers. Of course, the hope is that neither you nor any of your friends or colleagues will ever be confronted with an active shooter situation. However, should the worst case occur, know that you can always run, hide, or fight. For more information and resources in active shooter preparedness and response, please visit dhs.gov/active-shooter. shooter.
There are lots and lots of resources, lots of videos out there. How many of you have ever seen a video like that? A couple of you? There's probably 200 of them out there, different ones. Some of them actually go through scenarios where there's a shooter walking through a place and you know, they play act, obviously, shooting people and all that kind of stuff. There's some really good ones. City of Houston Police Department did a pretty good one as well. And remember, this isn't just for us in this building. Again, I'll tell you this all the time, I'm a freak. I grew up in a very rough lifestyle when I was a kid, right? And so I always, every time I go into a building, a restaurant, a theater, I find out where's my exits. And not just because of this stuff, but it's good in any kind of emergency, right? How am I getting out of this building? What's my way out? Always look for that. Always find my exits. If you're in a restaurant, is the entrance you came in the only way out? No, there's probably an exit through the kitchen, right? They may not say exit on the door, but there's an exit out there somewhere that goes outside because that's where they take the trash out, right? So if I'm in a restaurant, I can go to the kitchen and get out. If I'm in a theater, there's usually at least 2 exits the way I came in, plus an exit out the other side of the building. Almost always 2 exits. Know where they're at. Know where it is, right? Be aware, situational awareness, right? Be aware of your situation. Be aware of where you're at and what can happen around you. You have family members, you have children, they need to see this. There's videos that are specific to schools and what kids should do, what teachers should do. Go watch them, right? There's all kinds of disaster preparedness stuff out there. Go watch it, go look at it. Educate yourself, educate those that you love, and make sure people know this information. It's very, very common during these situations that almost nobody, including those people that should know, have any idea what to do. It still shocks me how many schools don't have never had a true drill, right, for an active shooter drill. They've never had one, right? Most of them in Kern County have, because if they're Bakersfield City or Kern County, both our Sheriff's Department and our Police Department have been very active in contacting the schools and making sure that happens, right? But not everybody's the same as what we have here. We have a pretty good law enforcement group. So September, it happens to be Disaster Preparedness Month. I didn't even know that when I started creating this presentation, but it is. So at that website, ready.gov/September, there's more information than you're going to be able to read in a week, right? A lot of stuff there of how to prepare for a disaster, how to be ready. And then go back and look at some of the other things we've talked about today and see what we can do to prepare ourselves. Because if you're prepared, there's far less likely to be a victim, right? We don't like being victims, right? I don't want to be one. So it's good to be prepared. It's good to always have a thought process, an escape plan, an emergency plan, emergency kit. Small one in your car with a first aid kit and stuff. Carry it around. I carry around a first aid kit in my car, and then always in my company truck, but in my car all the time. And I have stopped on multiple occasions to help people on the side of the road where they've been in accidents and that kind of stuff. So it's good to go through that information. It's good to have that kind of stuff and be thinking about that so you can help people. So that's the end of everything I have to share this morning. You learn anything this morning? Something you can use? Hopefully it makes you think and wake up a little bit and say that, you know, whose responsibility is it to make sure I'm safe? Mine. It's my responsibility, right? And same goes for you, right? At work, sometimes people think, well, it's the safety guy's responsibility. No, it's our responsibility to make sure you have the tools you need and the information you need. It's your responsibility to make sure you're safe. In the future, this is going to be a very open format, conversational. Is how I prefer these meetings to be. Ask questions during the middle of it to say, hey, Mark, I got a question. Let's make it conversational. If you need anything, ask. If you think, well, that might be stupid. No, nothing's stupid. Ask, right? Ask. If you're not sure, ask somebody to ask for you, right? If you just can't do it yourself, somebody you trust, ask them to ask for you, right? That's fine. Just give me the information, and I will do everything I can to help to make it better for you, right? And not just here, I mean, even if it's how to be prepared in my home, right? What should I do there? We can talk about it. We need to talk about it more. So really want to help, really want to support you in what you do and protect our people. We care. I mean, that's what I was going to say. We care. So is there any questions or comments about this morning?
Did we get our first aid kit updated?
Of course, is it not?
No, not since 2014.
Oh, that's good. Okay. I have not done a full-blown facility audit yet. It's on my list of things to get accomplished. I've been focused other areas, but it needs to be fixed. Okay. I didn't have that too. Yeah, I'll come over and we'll look at it and see what it needs. We'll get it taken care of. Right. Same thing goes with fire extinguishers and other stuff.
Marty usually comes for a Mark Holland fire extinguisher when we first come out.
Mhm.
I know he does in ours.
Yeah. I think he's still doing that.
Vanessa has a safety hazard.
Says what?
Safety hazard she wants to report.
What's that?
At the time clock in the other building, there's a big screw sticking out. And yesterday when I walked past it, I didn't know it was there until I walked past and I scratched my arm and then went back and looked at it. It's sticking out like this much.
What's it for?
The wood box below the time clock.
Okay.
It's still sticking out?
I didn't look at it today, but I saw it yesterday.
Okay. Well, we'll get it taken out. Should be. Is this something we need to screw in, or something we need to pull?
What do
screw
we
in?
use that box for?
All the stuff for the time clock and stuff.
Oh, all of it's in there? Okay, I was just wondering.
So we just need to get a screwdriver and screw it back in? If it's gonna keep screwing itself back out, maybe we put some sealant glue or something in it?
I think we didn't put it all the way back in.
Oh, okay.
We were messing around last week.
Okay. Thank you. That's what we need to know. Something like that. Anything else? Yes, ma'am.
Question: if there is an active shooter,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not trying to scare the receptionist, but what if they come in through that way? Like, what then? Like, what is she to do? Does she yell? For all of us, or
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
let me ask you a
it's the
question.
same thing.
What would you do if I walked up, came in, and I had a gun? What are you gonna do?
pray.
Okay, well, praying's great, but praying's not the right answer,
It's not
right?
the
And
same.
hey, listen, I believe in prayer, right? At that point, is that the right answer?
If we have the shooter in the other building, is it something that we should go over the intercom and yell shooter so this building knows, or how do we let people know?
You have to have like a code word.
Yeah,
No,
don't say shooter, because then that would just make him, start shooting more.
No, I think it's perfectly okay to say that.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
I just thought maybe it's
whatever.
like a code black.
No.
You kind of confuse them a little bit, I know.
All right,
Like,
so,
at least if they're gonna die, then we're gonna, like, all of us are gonna die over there to save Shelley's life, how do we, or vice versa?
well, let's talk about the first person, right? That they're gonna see, and that's probably the person sitting at the reception desk, right? Throw something at them. No, listen, the chances of that happening, hold on, before anybody gets scared, right? This isn't about being scared. This is about being prepared, right? The chances of it happening are nearly zero, right? 1 in 100 million, right? Maybe 200 million. I don't know what the number is. It's a really big number, right? That it's going to happen. But if you see somebody coming in the door and they've got a gun in their hand, throw something at them as soon as they come to the door, right? Scream so other people know what's going on, and then get under the desk or whatever you can do. Throw something at them. Because right now, we can't run and we can't really hide. It's too late, right? So what are you going to do? You're going to fight. You're going to fight. That's all you can do, right?
I feel like realistically, the people in the video were very calm.
No, that's not how it works.
Yeah, it's like, if it happened right now, I would have to push this chair, and one of these two girls would trip over it and probably die on my way out.
Yeah.
Realistically.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
But realistically, if we're in this room, we're going to throw a chair at them, right?
There's still gonna be more chaotic than what.
It is, okay? So,
He likes that it's complicated.
so let's get back to the topic real quick, right? So the question was, what should you do? Fight, right? If you're face to face with a gunman, fight. Whether it's at work, at home, Walmart parking lot, Target parking lot, wherever it's at, right? You fight. If you're face to face with somebody trying to threaten you with any kind of weapon, whether it be a gun or a knife, you fight, right? You're face to face, you fight. That's all you can do, right? Hopefully somebody comes to your rescue, tries to help, and we go from there. But we are writing the office emergency response plan, right? I'm about 80% done with a lot of different things, but that will detail exactly what we should do in the various emergencies. And if we want to go with code words and all that kind of stuff, we can. There's really no reason to for us that I can think of anyhow. I mean, there's no reason to, but we'll talk a lot more about it, get more details once we get the response plan completely written and approved. But really, all you can do if you're face to face with somebody attacking you is fight. Right? So think about that. Right? Just go to your desk and say, what can I fight with here? If I had to, what could I fight with here? Right? But don't go back to your desk because we talked about this stuff and think that Lake Isabella is going to break tomorrow. Right? We're going to have a tornado the next day, and the gunman's going to come in the third. Right? That's not going to happen. Right? Probably never going to use any of the information we just talked about. Right? It's just so if we had to, we'd be ready for it. It's better than we were a minute